Okay, it's recording now. Um, okay, so this is just like a classroom checklist, and the classroom checklist is one, two, three, four, five parts.
Mhm.
Positive classroom climate, high expectations, rules, norms, and procedures, managing behaviors, and de-escalation strategies. And
Okay.
so basically, I'm going to ask you questions that are under each one and how you handle that. So the first one is, how should a
How
teacher?
I will handle it, or you?
Huh?
Is how I will handle it in the classroom?
You, yeah, not me. I'm
Okay.
asking about
Okay.
and how. How should a teacher
Okay.
establish and maintain effective relationships with students? Knowing something about individual students, showing interest and affection for each student, including student interest in content, engaging in physical behaviors that convey interest, and using humor when appropriate. How would should a teacher establish that?
How should a teacher start that?
Establish and maintain effective relationships with students.
Oh, oh,
You
that's
listed out all the
for
things that
from just
they include to. So there was like a list of
well,
things that they would like you to
well,
think
yeah.
about.
Well, the first thing is you get to know who your students are. You get to know what your students like, what they dislike, what they're
How?
interested in. You can do it by just doing questionnaires. You can do it by just talking to your students, just on a one-on-one basis. You can do it by just through activities, having your students have a voice on choosing kind of activities or that they wanna have in the classroom. So several ways.
How do you currently do it in your classroom? Like, can you give
I
me
do it
more
by
examples?
so I know my students just by based on just having just one-on-one conversations with them, you know, and I know that my students, especially my boys, are really interested in football, which soccer basically. So I use what my students are interested in, and I use that in my lesson so that my students are engaged. You know, it's something that they're interested in. You know,
So
something
how
that
do
they
you
can relate to, so that they can relate to.
yeah. So how do you use football?
So we did a so we previously in my morals class we did the lesson was on role models. So of course, most of my students they love Messi or Ronaldo. You know, and so we related it to I went back and I did an example on one of their favorite football players. How can this person be a role model? How is this person a role model for them? You know, and they were very. I mean, they came up with so many different answers because that's someone that they look up to, someone that they know, someone that they can relate to. You know.
Okay. Um, let's see. For me, establishing relationships in my classroom. What do I do recently? I think I just kind of relate to the students by asking them questions and getting answers. I'm pretty sure they would do really good with the questionnaire though. I've never done a questionnaire to see like their interest and stuff like that. We normally just talk about it or I'll ask them a question
I
about
mean, that's something that I did on the first day of school. Like I had a little
yeah.
activity questionnaire where it says, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite book?
Yeah, that's
What's your favorite hobby? What's your favorite hobby? So based on just that a little questionnaire assignment, I was able to, analyze it and go see what my students are interested in,
yeah, I'm getting ready
and
to
that, and
start
that's
a new
from and that's from
system,
and
so
that's
that's
from
what
like the first, from the first couple of days of school.
because I'm getting ready to switch schools. So when I switch schools, that'll be something I can do.
But another thing too, though, is again, we're from another culture, so showing interest in their culture, it can be simple as being present during the national anthem, or it could be just even simple as dressing up during their national holiday, like we just had National Day here, and you have teachers who were dressed up in their traditional cultural clothing. Students see that and they say, okay, well, this teacher has an interest in our culture. That builds a relationship. Showing interest in their culture, trying to learn more about where they come from.
So cultural background.
Yes.
And exchange.
Yes.
Yeah. In China, maybe speaking their language. Like every time
Yes.
I do something in Chinese, my students are really like, "Whoa, she can speak Chinese," and they really start listening to me.
But in my classroom, we have to stick we have to stick with English.
Yeah. No, I'm just thinking about things that I do. Okay, high expectations. How should a teacher communicate high expectations of all students in the areas of academic achievement, behavior, the affective domain, pride in work, and student goal setting?
Through the objectives, through having students understand their objective, breaking down what their objective is, also, having rubrics. So especially if you're doing like projects or any activity, definitely have rubrics so the students know what they're expected to do. So they know, like, in order to get this grade, I am expected to do X, Y, and Z.
Rubrics, objectives. What else did you say?
I think that was it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for language learners, my kids are low. So oftentimes I need to give them a model. That's what I do. I have to model like what I want.
Yeah. So for my students, it's definitely modeling visuals. I always have to so I always have to have visuals go with vocabulary. And not just that. If I'm saying some type of vocabulary word, say for example, I could be pointing to my nose, like I'm saying nose, just constantly pointing. Repetition.
Okay.
Definitely visuals, definitely modeling, videos.
Yeah, I have another class. It's a study skills class, and my students just did a presentation, and they went like I gave them like how they're going to be graded, and then I gave them the assignment, and I think they did a really good job. I was really impressed.
That's good.
Okay, so the next question is rules, norms, and procedures. How should a teacher establish and enforce rules, norms, and procedures to include behavior, transition, equipment use, bathroom use, etc.?
Rules and procedures should be placed from the first day of school. I say you can spend a whole week just making sure that students understand the rules and the procedures. That's something that you really want to build on early on, especially from the first day of school. What I normally do is I take the first couple of days and I don't do any teaching that day. We're just constantly going over rules and procedures, consistency, so they know exactly what they need to do. Practice, practice, practice. If I tell my students to line, they know that, they have to line up by time I count to 5. If not everyone is lined up by time I count to 5, you sit down, you do it again. Repetition, repetition, repetition. I can spend a whole day doing it. I'm talking, this is from like the first day of school. Yeah. And then, of course, with rules and procedures, also comes with that as a reward system. I introduce my students to Class Dojo. So I have a reward system with Class Dojo, so they know that know how they can earn.
Wait, that's the next question.
No.
Okay. So rules for my classroom. I mean, the kids are a lot older, so I don't really have a lot of behavior issue. They tend to take out their phones a lot, but they know that if I see their phone and I'm teaching a lesson, then I'm gonna tell them one time, and then I'm gonna tell them the second time, and the third time they're gonna give me their phone.
if you go back to students' interests, right? Technology. How are you building technology in your classroom? Because I mean, you're dealing with grade 12, so you can actually have them utilize their cell phones by doing like things like Kahoot.
I
You
don't
know what
really.
Kahoot is?
I just don't have time. I wish I did to do it with these classes, but the way this school's set up, I only have 3 more days working there, so pretty much I'm
Okay.
on my way out. And I don't really feel like I have the support system that I need because
Mhm.
I'm teaching 5 different subjects, and it's 5 different grade levels, 5 different subjects, and it's too much. So I haven't really like into the creative side of everything. I wish I could have, but for me with this health class, I don't they don't really use electronics. Everything's just kind of I do a lot of role play, a lot of activities like getting up and moving around and stuff like this, and a lot of
Mhm.
discussion. I
Mhm.
wish I did have time to do some more electronic stuff, which would have been my like next thing that I need to work on, but it's just not gonna work out right now.
Mhm.
Okay, and then managing behavior. My mentor strongly believes in. What do you strongly believe in?
When it comes to classroom management,
Managing behaviors.
I start believing that the teacher, you have it's your classroom, so you have to set the ground rule. You have to let them know that this is your classroom. These are my rules. These are my expectations. They must follow it. Now, when it comes to classroom management, for me, I deal with younger kids. So I can't just punish them. I also have to reward them, you know. So that's where I come in with Class Dojo. I have a reward system,
And what's the
and
negative
that's it.
strategies? Because Class Dojo is
Which is,
positive, right?
no, Class Dojo is negative and positive. So the students can earn points and they can lose points. For example, students can earn points by completing by staying on task, by speaking English in class, by working with a partner, by lining up quietly. Students can lose points by speaking out without permission, getting out of their seat without permission,
So,
hitting others.
so what about if they lose all their points? Then what happens?
It doesn't work like that. So I have a reward system, and students are able to. So my students within 2 weeks, students need to be able to gain 25 points in order to get in a reward. And I have a treasure box. So my treasure box is filled with like sunglasses, pens, you know all types of things that my students are interested in. Because before I made my treasure box, I had my students tell me what type of things they would like as a reward. You know, so everything that's in my treasure box are things that they requested. So you have students who everyone starts with 0 points, and then again they have to earn 25 points within 2 weeks. And again, points vary. Like, for example, um getting like working on task can be 3 points, right? But leaving on your seat can be, let's say, 4 points. So you got 3 points for working on being on task, but if you left your seat without permission and I gave you a check for that, now you lost 4 points. Now you're at a -1. So they have to work extra hard, you know what I'm saying? So having my students be accountable for their actions.
Yeah. Hold on.
And it's a way for me to communicate with parents too. So like I may send parents a message, say, "Hey, can you please remind?" Because parents are notified when they receive points and lose points. So every time a student loses a point, I send a message to a parent saying, "Hey, can you remind your child to stay in the seat?" You know.
Okay, and this is the last question. De-escalation strategies. How should a teacher handle, prevent, and or intervene in disruptive behavior?
I think the first thing is a warning. You know, you can go to that student and tap them and just remind them. Next, after that, um, give them a second warning. Maybe write their name on the board. You know, and then from there they still continue to do it. Then you give them a third warning, which is could be like maybe write because my students have writing. Journals, and we have to write in it, and then they give it to their parents, so you can write in it and tell the parent, hey, today, Johnny had a hard time of focusing in class. He was distracting others, and you send that home, and then we go from there.
Mm. And you do this, so they need to write in the journal.
Yeah. No, you don't. They don't write. You don't. The students are writing journals. You write in. You write in. It's.
Hold on, it's frozen.
We call them back.
Hello?
And you write the note in there. You write the note to the parent in their journal to the parent. The parent has to sign it, bring it back.
Okay, so it's a teacher-parent communication journal. Dang, it's frozen.